Hi everybody, I am Derya Agish. I am from Turkey. Today I will make a presentation titled The Eco-Emergency Calls Against Viruses in
The Andromeda Strain
and Istanbul in Terror. Let me introduce you to the study. This study aims to analyze and compare the ecological metaphors related to the concepts of birth, nature, virus, and death within the framework of Ernst Tibbe's ecolinguistic theory for finding a universal way for the protection of nature that appears as a policing detective that catches and arrests murder viruses conceptual metaphorically in the American novel entitled
The Andromeda Strain
by Michael Crichton that was adapted into a movie in 1971 by its producer and director Robert Wise. And the Turkish movie İstanbul Dehşet İçinde, thus Istanbul in Terror, produced in 1966 by Kemal Demircioğlu and directed by İlhan Engin. On the one hand, in
The Andromeda Strain,
just the homeless old man and the baby get saved from a virus that has
murdered
every inhabitant in a village in New Mexico after a satellite crash. On the other hand, in İstanbul Dehşet İçinde, Istanbul in Terror, a global gang called Mirak intends to contaminate the water resources of Turkey, Greece, England, France, Italy, and the US with cholera and
plague
viruses to sell the injections its members may produce for gaining lots of money. However, the gang gets caught. To
conclude.
This study shows that both works address the evil humans try to destroy the Earth's resources. And these are the data resources of this study. Crichton's novel, its movie version, and the Turkish movie titled İstanbul Dehşet İçinde, Istanbul in Terror, used Tibbe's ecolinguistic theory explained in his book titled Ecolinguistics, Language, Ecology, and the Stories We Live By. Regarding ecolinguistic conceptual metaphors, an environmental concept can define another concept for its peculiarities and their similarities. According to Ernst Tibbe, ideologies help humans make decisions. Thus, in this study, one sees that Turks and Americans shape their own beliefs about viruses and emergency situations in accordance with their ideologies based on the situations where several metaphors are the best options for them. These situations lead to framings recognized as mental formulations according to which humans conceptualize the events by processing information cognitively. Consequently, this study is based on environmental metaphors to be interpreted within cultural framings. Cultural frames are employed in interpreting metaphors. For instance, climate change is a time bomb. We must be careful about climate change by obeying certain rules. It may occur at any time. It is a threat. Then it may explode. It may cause several disasters, such as earthquakes or
the
lack of water and epidemics caused by the lack of water. It is time to analyze both works. They are on viruses and biological wars. In the first one, thus in the American one, there is a virus that doesn't come from the earth. It comes from the space. In the Turkish movie, the virus is human-made. It is made to make money. Then in
The Andromeda Strain.
an Air Force team was formed to find a military satellite just re-arrived to the world. However, a disaster took place, and accordingly, all the inhabitants of Piedmont in Arizona passed away tragically, since the satellite brought a virus with it, landing on it. The duty officer suggested that it brought an extraterrestrial contaminant, thus wildfire should have been activated. Dr. Jeremy Stone became the leader of the wildfire team and proposed that the satellite attracted these organisms purposefully as a bioweapon which could kill numerous people by clotting their blood. Therefore, some were killed suddenly, whereas others killed themselves due to the mental harm caused by the organisms. Only a crying baby called Jamie Ritter and an alcoholic old man called Peter Jackson were alive. The satellite was being investigated in the hidden wildfire lab that was under the ground in Nevada. It belonged to a Department of Agriculture research station. Thus, agriculture is important for the survival of all the human beings. Crops must be protected against viruses and microbes as well. The bachelor Dr. Hall could disarm the self-destruct mechanism because there was the odd man hypothesis. A meteor containing a virus bumped into the satellite that became infected. The microbe didn't have any DNA or any RNA types or any proteins. An injection cannot be made against it accordingly. As Andromeda grows as a microbe at a low pH level, it mutates. It couldn't grow in extremely acidic or alkaline matters. The old drunk man was acidic for taking sterno and aspirin, and the baby was hyperventilated. Andromeda escaped, but it wasn't pathogenic at that time. To stop Andromeda, Dr. Hall inserted a key into an emergency substation. The movie ends with 601, the odd man hypothesis test result of Reynolds, another worker. Andros 5, a crewed spacecraft, might have been burned in the atmosphere due to Andromeda that devoured its heat shield. Regarding İstanbul dehşet içinde, dehşet means terror, Istanbul in terror, a policeman called Kemal tried to decipher what an international gang called Mirak would do. Several people were murdered in Istanbul for not revealing a secret biological crime. That crime can also be regarded as a global biological war. The National Security Corps tried to find the criminals. Mirak would contaminate the waters of Istanbul with
plague,
and cholera viruses. Kemal deciphered its members and killed its last member that kidnapped Necla, a woman whose home Tevfik, another policeman, entered, trying to catch the gang members, but he was killed. She reported the microbe
war,
to the police, but they kidnapped her under the guise of policemen. They attempted to kill her with a knife, but she got saved and helped Kemal to stop the start of a global biological war from Istanbul and Athens. The gang was aiming at selling injections to make money. Regarding birth metaphors in both works. In
the Andromeda strain,
a baby is hope. An old man is joy because he is alcoholic. He doesn't feel any sadness. Joy and hope are savors of nature. Rebirth in nature is hope. Blossoming flowers are hope. 601 is the code of a man who took the odd man hypothesis test. Thus, he didn't win it, but this number refers to the fact that all the human beings must work together to protect nature. Secret documents refer to the secrets of nature. Birth control pills refer to the fact that humans must protect nature against overpopulation. The first kidney transplant metaphor refers to the need of humans for nature as they need to breathe oxygen. The last important point is that viruses are
bombs,
guns, murderers. Thus, the first biological crisis is
the Andromeda strain.
An external virus attacked the world. As soon as the baby had been found, that baby looked at the workers who were possessing plastic suits for protecting themselves. The baby was hungry and crying for this reason. The workers couldn't feed him due to their doubts about food security. Thus, the world must be protected, nature must be protected against external enemies such as viruses. The doors in the lab allude to the importance of agriculture for the survival of all the creatures. Seedling incubation, moisture control, soil analysis. These were the names of rooms in the center. In Istanbul, in terror, daylight is hope as evidence is found in the morning. Çift Ay is a nickname for a policeman. It means double moons. Moonlight is hope accordingly.
The sea
Is hope as the last criminal is found by the sea. Water is birds and a novelty. Water is hope. Nature is hope. The train is a metaphor for life. One must start to protect nature, beginning from the first wagon. Thus, one must take precautions against nature devastation. The Voyager's number was 9/10. Thus, every human being must work together to protect nature for not being the last human being on Earth. There is this metaphor. Tuesday is a metaphor for the start of a war, a biological war, as Mars is the planet for wars. In the Bakırköy quarter of Istanbul, in a street called Sakız Mastik, a murder would take place. Why Sakız? Mastic is obtained from trees, from some trees. Thus, nature is a cook, is a remedy, is a caretaker. We must protect nature. A stripteaser would be killed. Every day a murder would take place. The Mirak gang was trying to close its secrets for starting a crucial war, for selling injections at high prices. Kemal, a policeman, had to follow the gang members with a pen that could become a gun, a bomb, thus a matchbox, and a walkie-talkie with a battery. H217 was the code for the virus. It would be distributed on November the 19th. Those who knew about this would be killed. One must communicate with the Interpol in such cases. H2O is the symbol of water. The water's molecules consist of one oxygen and two hydrogen atoms. But H217 is different. Therefore, some plague and cholera viruses would be inserted into water in many parts of the world for making lots of money. Water is life, water is birth, so nature must be protected. The gang members used a car of an embassy. The signature belonged to an Arabic man. However, many people were using different names. They were trying to be secret beings for destroying the earth and its products, unaware of their own destruction. In fact, every living thing has a right to clean water. Animals, humans, and plants need clean water to survive. Regarding nature metaphors, in both works, nature, water, soil, air is a victim, judge, a detective, or police officer. Humans are defendants. Environmental pollution is a jail. Death, health is a court. Fresh air is birth. And natural emergency is fire. Viruses are not products of the Mother Earth. The sea is safety. Water is a necessity. The gang got caught in Istanbul in terror. Besides, animal cruelty is a poison. In
the Andromeda strain,
humans were dead. They couldn't understand animals. Viruses are enemies of the whole earth. Mice, rats, dogs, cats, and primates were used for experiments unethically. 9 huge German shepherds, thus army-trained sentry dogs, had laryngectomy operations and were silent accordingly. They couldn't express their emotions by barking. The country of lost borders was the name given to the region by the Indians. The Indians were the original owners of the region. There were wooden houses, dusty hills, and
The Mojave Desert
was after the hills. It was February. There was hopelessness. Scoops were sent into space. They would beep if they descended to a level of 5 miles. Then, scrubby vegetation and an occasional withered yucca tree crusted in snow. Why yucca? Thus, the yucca trees are symbols for humans' need for the protection of the environment. Scoop satellites 4 and 5 came back. S. albus contaminates human skin.
Staphylococcus
Albus, a bacterium. Horse and sheep blood.
Agar
Yes, this is a metaphor for cruelty. Grey, weathered wooded buildings are metaphors for hopelessness and humans' carelessness about nature. The book refers to Galileo and Newton as explorers of the space. Virus metaphors. Viruses are guns,
bombs,
murderers, thieves, terrorists, criminal tools, money. Animals that were given a drug didn't develop myelogenous leukemia in the lab experiments. Animals are not friendly. They are human servants in
the Andromeda strain.
accordingly. Humans are used to some viruses, but the author says mankind, excluding women. In
the Andromeda strain.
In a maximum security installation called Harley, viruses were created such as carination that caused diarrhea and Arnold that could kill humans. In Dugway Proving Ground, tests on poison gases were conducted. Then, biologic crises occur. In the Turkish movie, the gang Mirak tries to spread cholera and
plague
viruses. Bacteria cause both illnesses. A bacterium called Vibrio cholerae causes cholera, and a bacterium called Yersinia pestis causes
plague.
The Mirak gang has headquarters in Jamaica. They try to gather gold from governments. Each microbe is a British gold piece for them. Guinea pigs include several cities around the globe, and they start from Istanbul and Athens to contaminate water. They plan to escape to Australia in the end for a luxury life. Strengthened cholera and
plague,
viruses can be spread. First, they tried to stab the woman taking meth. Tekin was killed by them. But she survived and she went to the police. Their virus code is H217. But what is that? H2O stands for water. Then they try to mix something into water. They would do so, but the Turkish police caught them. The head of the gang is the Slavic man called Kurenko. He is the honorary
consul of
several countries. Alpha 17 is a tool for them. Then an African country has an honorary
consul.
Besides, a secret agent, Lisa is a vamp woman. These horrible people tried to, in fact, in the movie, spread viruses from the Yerebatan
Basilica cistern
in Istanbul. They would start to contaminate water from Ayvansaray as a quarter. Then they got caught and their last member was killed by the Turkish agents. They were aiming at making lots of money by inventing pills, cures, injections against cholera and
plague.
After contaminating the water of several countries, but their plans didn't work. In both works, that is extinction. Murder is unhuman, that is money, unnatural death is a crime. Viruses can be human-made, as in the Turkish movie, or humans' ambitions can cause viruses, as they wish to discover more lands out of the world, in other planets, in the space. In both occasions, that is money. Through discoveries, they will make money by becoming famous and by inventing cures. The cures of a disease that they had invented, humans can make lots of money. Thus, unnatural death is a crime, but one should find ways to punish these criminals. That is extinction, because a virus can kill all the animals, all the plants, and all the humans on Earth. In the American novel and movie, blood clotting was the major cause of death. Thus, Burton injected heparin to rats for preventing clotting in an experiment. The novel wasn't friendly to animals because they were used in experiments.
Breathing
Rapidly could
alienate.
deadly acids,
Breathing
false
alienates.
viruses. the microbe started to possess the body through the lungs. Thus, it was mixed into the blood. It possessed the brain veins. The blood coagulated. Blood clots caused death or suicide due to mental insanity. The time course of death was short. Hall was scared to death trying to save his country from a virus, escaping in a short time. Hydrochloric acid kills, in fact. In the Turkish movie, the stripper saw a skeleton on Thursday with a head as they would kill her. This was a symbol. The Turkish agent used a fire hydrant and a rock to get saved from the enemies. While escaping, he got killed. He found shelter at the home of a woman and told the woman to go to the police and say some words. These words were Kurenko, micro
war,
and the woman went to the police station and said the following words. Istanbul in danger, taking the secret agent's name, Çiftay Double Moose. This nickname was given because the moon is a symbol of hope. In both works, we can find the metaphor nature death is a
crisis.
In the first American work, a town where nobody is alive implies that the environment is dead there too. There is no food security. Water can be contaminated there. And in the Turkish movie, there is the political global war
crisis
due to water contamination. Water safety is a must for the survival of all the humans and animals. And one cannot find food to survive, and one cannot use water to clean herself or himself or her or his food. Then chemical poison wars in the physical space of the whole earth are very dangerous. There are the biological war plants in the Turkish movie, and this leads to biological crisis. Then one must keep in mind that nature death is a
crisis.
Crichton refers to crisis starting with the definition of what a political
crisis is.
Major Charles George Gordon put down the Typing Rebellion, and in Khartoum the
Mahdists
killed him. He was given as an example. Then chemical and physical crises occurred due to atomic energy inventions and space wars. In the 1940s, antibiotics were discovered. Tranquilizers, steroid hormones, immunochemistry, and genetic codes were the novelties of that time. In 1953, the first kidney transplant took place. In 1958, some birth control pills were invented. And Einstein's relativity theory became crucial as space studies were conducted, and some scientists were trying to define how space is related to time. Germans used rockets in wars. Then the Russians invented Sputnik. That changed the American education system. According to Crichton, crises initiate new eras with new scientific methodologies. Also, intercontinental ballistic missiles were the novelties in the 1960s. Sputnik, launched in 1957, was a basic level satellite whose invention followed more advanced technological machines. However, its spatial signals inspired the US to revamp science and engineering education in order to combat against the Soviet Union technologically. Regarding the scoops in
The Andromeda strain.
the first one landed in a swamp in Athens, Georgia, with normal organisms. The second one burned up. Also the third one burned up. The fourth and the fifth scoops contained S. albus as
A type of
bacteria, but
this bacterium was
not harmful. The sixth scoop carried an unknown organism that damaged the immune systems of chickens. And the seventh scoop carried something strange that led to unknown reasons for that. To conclude, ecolinguistic metaphors that underline benevolent humans' urgent need to stop these other malevolent humans who attempt to destroy the environment for being extremely wealthy by leading to a
massacre,
are the following. Viruses are guns,
bombs,
murderers, thieves, terrorists, criminal tools, money. Nature, water, soil, air is a victim. A judge, a detective, a police officer. Humans are defendants in courts against climate change and against virus distributions during
wars.
Environmental pollution is a jail, is death accordingly, and health is a court, fresh air is birth, and natural emergency is fire. Besides, metaphorically, more importantly and alarmingly, viruses are not products of the Mother Earth. They are mainly human-made. Due to their carelessness, humans form viruses and bacteria, and they harm themselves just for being indifferent to environmental issues. Both works can be used in environmental education for teaching that environmental resources must be protected accordingly. Here are the references that I have consulted. Thank you for watching my presentation. If you have any questions, email me.